Many times throughout history, we have heard a lot about the March on Washington, which happened in Washington, D.C. back in 1963. And we hear much talk about how Martin Luther King Jr. gave his I Have a Dream speech during the March on Washington. But there were many people that had a lot to do with a lot of things that happened during that momentous occasion, historical occasion. People like A. Philip Randolph, who was working behind the scenes, who's one of my all-time favorites and certainly one of my heroes. But people like Bayard Rustin, who had a large part to do with the March on Washington. As a matter of fact, he had a lot to do with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s approach, his nonviolent approach to achieving peace. Bayard Rustin is best remembered as the organizer of the 1963 March on Washington, and he helped mold Martin Luther King Jr. into an international symbol of peace and nonviolence. He was an openly gay man in a fiercely homophobic era. Rustin's biography is particularly important for lesbian and gay Americans, highlighting the major contributions of a gay man to ending official segregation in America. Today, the United States is still struggling with many of the issues that Bayard Rustin addressed during his very long and illustrious career. And one thing that really stands out to me really is a telling tale of how important Bayard Rustin was and how important his efforts were. That in 1956, when he arrived in Montgomery, Alabama, to help out with the bus boycott of 1956, Dr. King hadn't really, uh, you know, accepted the nonviolent approach. As when Bayard Rustin approached at his home, he had armed guards at the front of his home. He had guns in his house. And in all fairness, I think it's important to point out Dr. King's house had just been firebombed. So, being the man that he was, and certainly being the husband and the father he was, Dr. King sought to protect his family at that point. And to tell you the truth, I don't think anybody could blame him. So he was loaded for bear. But Bayard Rustin convinced him to buy into Mahatma Gandhi's nonviolent approach to achieve peace. And of course, the rest is history. As Dr. King bought into the nonviolent approach, and there were the counter sit-ins at white businesses in the South, and nonviolent marches. Dr. King went to jail quite a few times, all through nonviolence, and he achieved much. You can find out more about Bayard Rustin at rustin.org, and it will tell you everything that you need to know and maybe didn't know about Bayard Rustin and the very critical and vital part that he had, that he played in the March on Washington of 1963, and certainly during the Civil Rights Movement.